1 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started, and welcome to this NACA President's Town Hall meeting. It's our second one. We did the first one back in November, and certainly glad to have you join us for the second one today. It is being recorded, and it is available. It will be available, therefore, on YouTube for the whole world to see, apparently. So welcome, and I'm glad to have you join us. I'm Phil Durst, your NACA president, and let me just tell you the layout for the program today. We're planning, first of all, I'm going to make some comments, announcements. Then we'll give you some time for a little questions on anything that I've said. Then we have 6 special invited guests that I'm pleased to have on the call today to join us to talk about something specific that I've asked them to talk about. So we're going to do that, and then we'll have time for your questions again at the end, and I'll make some closing comments and wrap up. So that's the plan, and just go on ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank Melody Rose for setting this up. Melody is our Senior Southern Region Director. She's in Tennessee, and we're certainly glad to have Melody be involved in this association and her role as director. And she's been an asset to the board, and as well as, of course, to the region. But nationally, she's been an asset. And thank you, Melody, for setting this up. Our association at the certification count had 3,187 members, 3,187 members certified, and our current count is over 3,200 members. That is terrific. We are a strong association. In fact, I would say that at the certification date, we were up about 100 from the previous year. So just to let you know that our association, we're not near where we were at one point when there was certainly many members, many more extension people, but we've been climbing in recent years, and I think it's great that we are such a strong association, and want to encourage that we continue to reach out, continue to draw people into our association, which means to your state association, because that's how people become members of NACA, is by being members of the state association. And I want to talk a little bit about AMPIC because it's coming up, and I'm excited about it. I registered this morning. I heard that a couple others registered already, and registration was easy. I think it was the easiest registration I've done yet. We had a little subcommittee that met following last year's registration process and said, what can we do to improve it? And Scott Hallbaker worked on the registration and added some things and did some things differently so that we have a more efficient registration online than we've had in the past. But looking at the program, it's just terrific. We have 117 member presentations scheduled. There's 6 super seminars, 4 special Iowa seminars, 130 posters were submitted, 2 general sessions, there's trade talks, there's educational luncheons. Wow. What a great professional improvement conference this will be. I hope that you will talk with your members and encourage them to come to Des Moines, Iowa. It will be a great time, and we're really looking forward to it. And then part of that, part of our program is that we've invited U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, an Iowa native, to have a part of our general session. And we've invited you to submit questions to the secretary. You know, it could be questions about the Farm Bill. It could be questions about some aspect of what USDA does. It could be about extension. And so we want to invite you and, of course, the members in your state to submit questions. And they submit those questions to Scott Hallbaker, and he will tally those questions up and present those questions. Now, we don't have a guarantee yet that the secretary will be there. He is invited. It's on his calendar. We have every reason to believe that he will come, but we also know that when it comes to government, we are at the mercy of what happens on a given day. And so regardless, we will present questions to the secretary. And if you would participate in that, we'd be glad to have you do that. I want to also remind you about the new JSEP award. It is the JSEP Excellence in Extension Engagement Award. It's a new award, and it has a new deadline. The deadline is May 31st. This is an award that for individuals or teams that really gets to the heart of great extension programs. And so I want to encourage you to check that out. The award winner will receive $750 and will be invited as a speaker to the plenary session at the Extension Leadership Conference next year. And conference registration for that will be waived for the winner. So really $1,000 value right there, more than $1,000 value, because the registration was $425 or so. So that's a $1,250 value for the winner. And so I want to encourage you to submit for that. That award will go to JSEP and will not be selected by our association, but the JSEP committee will select the award winner. And then part of our professional development is our NACA 365 series. And coming up, there are webinars on May the 10th and 24th in this month. May the 10th, it's getting started with educational videos. Excuse me. May 24th is 5 digital marketing secrets that will help your extension program grow. And on June 14th, about networking at the AMPIC. So I want to encourage you to get the word out about those NACA 365 webinars coming up. And Scott had sent an email out on April 27th. So just last week, there was an email out about that. Are there any questions before we move on to our special invited guest? I'll open the floor for your questions, whether you want to do that in chat or whether you want to just unmute and call them out. And I want to welcome more of you. I see that more have joined us since we started, and I want to welcome you today. Glad to have you with us.
Phil, I have a question from South Dakota.
Yes.
Will there be a first timers webinar before the AMPIC this year? I haven't seen advertisement yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I believe the answer is yes. I fully expected to see it on that list that I just gave you, and I didn't see it, but I believe the answer is yes. Are you going to be a first timer, Laura?
I won't be, but we have a couple people that will be attending for the first time. So.
Okay, and I know that that's important to give them a heads up, and so I'll mark that down and make sure we get the information out about that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you helping me start a list for things to ask. Are there any other questions?
Bill, before you go on, this is Brenda in Georgia. On your list of things to do, about a list of restaurants for States Night Out? I'm already getting questions from my folks.
Okay, I know that Iowa says there's lots of restaurants, and I will make sure that list is available. Thank you for that, Brenda. It's always good to have a list of things to do. I swear my list of things to do never ends. It just always gets replaced. Everything I check something off, something else replaces it. Any other questions? Colt asked a question in the chat. Does States Night Out coincide with the trip to the fair? And the answer is no. But States Night Out moved. And so let me see if I can figure that out here. On Monday, Monday is the trip to the fair. No, I'm sorry. Tuesday's trip to the fair, and Monday is States Night Out. So we've changed that up a little bit. So it's they don't coincide, but you can do both.
Just out of curiosity, where's that fit with the auction and stuff?
The auction will also be on Monday evening. So that's moved as well. Good question. Because I know that those of us who have been to the meeting know the routine, and this is a little different than the routine.
Phil, this is Anita from North Dakota. I had a question from one of our members recently, like is there a registration discount for the first timers?
Yes, there is. So first time registration, I believe is $250 versus $475 for our regular members. So that's a pretty good discount. And all they need to do is, it's actually $225. It's $250 off. So all they need to do is select that when they register. There is a space to select first timer.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I had a question. I joined on before I found out or after I found out what the questions were directing. But a question that came, there were a couple of in the awards things, there were a couple of cases where there were regional winners that were not moved forward just from state to regional, even though there were, there's up to 3 regional winners, but there was only 1 out of 2 or 3, I can't remember, on a couple of them. And I got a question why they didn't go to regional if they were there and had met the requirements. I think it was communications, because I know the Search for Excellence only has state and national finalists and winners.
Betsy, I'm not sure I fully understand the question. So let me just see if this is it. In a case where there is no regional winner, then that region is not represented in the national finalist. In a case
No, so there were a couple of situations, I think on at least 2 of them, 2 maybe 3, where there were like, for our state, there were a couple of state winners, and there were a couple other state winners from other states in the region, but only 1 moved up to regional winner instead of the potential up to 3.
Well, all I can say is I can check it out, Betsy.
Okay, thanks.
I'll get back to you on that.
This is Laura McDermott. I might be able to speak to that. I'm a regional,
Laura, go ahead.
I'm a regional communications chair for the Northeast.
Okay.
And one of the things that happened in a couple of regions, I know it did happen in the Northeast region, is that even though the people won at the state level, there was something usually fairly small, unfortunately, some small direction that wasn't followed. And so they couldn't qualify to move forward as a regional winner because of that, just one small thing. And it's unfortunate, but that's what happened at least in the Northeast's case. So there were a couple of different categories where we had 2 winners, even though we had 4 or 5 or 6 people that could have moved on, but only 2 were chosen because they just didn't make it.
Thank you, Laura,
Okay.
for responding to that.
And just a
All right.
question on that. Since this is a communications award, hopefully the reasons why were communicated back to those individuals.
Yeah, my thought too.
Well, what we've been trying to do is work through the communication chairs. So we will tell the state chair what the challenge was, and just try to prevent that in the future. It probably should have been found during the state judging, but it just wasn't picked up.
Yeah. Thank you all for your comments on that. So I want to move on to our invited guest, and excited to have them. First of all, JD Sexton is with us from Colorado, and JD asked you here to talk about what it is that happens with new members in Colorado. JD? JD, are you there? Well, if JD's not there, and I don't see him on the list, we'll move on. And Melody, if you would mind contacting JD to see if he'll be joining us. Laura McDermott, since you just chimed in, I understand that you hosted a tour with Explorations by Thor. And you wrote a note after that, and that's what prompted this request to tell us about it, so that others can understand what you did and what they can do as well, and can profit by it. So Laura, would you tell us about what you've done? And I believe that you've been given the opportunity to share screen. If you've not, we'll make sure that you have that. Yes, okay.
Yes, can you folks see? Hold on a second. Is it showing the full screen?
It's showing full screen, but you are on slide sorter or something like that.
Okay, hold on.
Or
Is that
whatever.
better?
You probably want to start slideshow, that's all.
Hold on. Trying to figure out which one is the right one. Not that one. Okay. Is that better?
Didn't change.
Oh. Okay.
There, whoa,
Sorry, folks.
I think you had it there a second.
How's that?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, great. So forgive my voice. I have a little laryngitis, but I'm happy that Phil invited me because I think this is a really wonderful opportunity for different folks if they have a group that they'd like to bring. And oftentimes, probably many have seen the different tours that are focused just on us, which is wonderful for an in-service type of opportunity or networking. But I took a group of growers, and we had 25 growers, and I'll try to move quickly because I don't want to spend too much time. 25 growers that went in early December this past year. And we worked with Explorations by Thor to put the tour together. And my target audience was berry growers because I'm a berry specialist in New York State, which is kind of an odd fit, but Alex Thor did a fabulous job. I found a few stops that were my own, through connections of my own, either at Cornell or elsewhere. And he ended up taking the contacts and just figuring out the whole itinerary. We basically covered almost the entire country from east to west, flew into San Jose, and then kind of did a loop going east, and then ended up in the western part of the state. We saw a little bit of everything, not just berry crops, and that's berry with a B and not with a D, even though this is one of the operations we saw from the bus. We had a fabulous tour bus. It was very, very comfortable. You can see some of our growers there. They spent a lot of time engaged with each other. We did have some sightseeing opportunities, which was really nice for them. Most of them, but not all, brought their spouses or another travel companion that wasn't necessarily 100% engaged in agriculture. So it was just really nice. This was one of the unusual things that we did run into, the El Salvadoran president, which was just a complete happenstance. But this is one of the growers' wives that got her picture taken with him. We saw coffee, which obviously is not going to be something that we're going to grow, but it was super fascinating. We saw a lot of plastic covered crops, and spent a fair amount of time at some greenhouse crops, but also this was a very, very progressive berry farmer. And this, we could hardly drag the growers out of here. It was really well done. Everyone spoke English beautifully. Just really, really interesting for our group. And then we did go to Cartier, which is a kind of like an international research farm, but they also have an in-person program for people from all over the world. And we got a couple of different lectures there about tropical and subtropical fruits and also agritourism, really fascinating. We spent a little time on which was great for my veterinarian husband, who's in the foreground here. He really enjoyed this stop. It was at a feedlot, and really fascinating. They did such a really terrific job. Here's another bit. We were kind of killing some time before our lunch and got to see some of their prize-winning cattle. But we were treated like royalty. Every stop had really great food, very intimate. We were able to speak with actual farmers, you know, every single stop. And this was a papaya cooperative. Again, they rolled out the red carpet for us, lots of trying different things. This person right here was our guide. He was fabulous. He was not an agricultural guide, but he was more of an ecotourist guide, but he just threw himself into it. And you know, the time we spent with him the whole week, we really felt very well cared for. And that was through a company that Alex Thor, Explorations by Thor, contracted with. This was an example of going above and beyond. We couldn't go to see the Green Dam, which was on our original itinerary, and because they were doing some type of maintenance at the last minute. So they brought us up to this lookout point to be able to look over, and this particular picture doesn't exactly show it, but this is the reservoir created by the Green Dam. And this was quite a very adventurous trip with a tour bus. We ended up getting a lot of trees stuck in the top, and that's what's taking place there, is that they're removing the trees. The driver was super, he was just wonderful. This was a pineapple plantation. Great, spent a full half day with them. They also grew pepper and coconuts. Oops, excuse me. We did go to the La Paz Waterfall Gardens. That was also fun. That was the one probably complaint. The growers got so into the different agricultural stops that sometimes it took us off our itinerary. And so we got less time at this waterfall garden than several of the people wanted. But the Costa Ricans are so generous that they didn't want to rush people. So we ended up getting to our stop quite late. Here we are. And this stop was dinner at a local's house, and they cooked it for us. It was later than we had anticipated. Here, obviously, we're walking up to our dinner time. But then we saw some oil palm and some sugar cane. This was the farm owners that owned that plantation, both of those plantations, they had a fabulous steak lunch actually for us. It was really great. And then we went to see a rice mill in Guanacaste. We also spent time in a riverboat tour looking at different things, and another cultural center where we learned some of the local foods, how to make them. And then the last day and a half was purely relaxation. Many of us went for on the beach and through the forest horse ride, and then some people went fishing and zip lining. But it was a really nice end, and I just want to encourage you to either maybe do a state trip with your membership, or don't hesitate to use Alex for your grower audiences, because our growers really, really enjoyed it. It was very affordable. They all said it was well within what they just thought they got a really good deal. We were very well cared for, and Alex did such a great job putting the itinerary together. So I just can't say enough about it. And despite how bad my voice sounds, no one got sick, no one got COVID. We had one person that couldn't fly out. He had a little, he thought it was a GI bug, but in fact, when he got home, a couple of days after he arrived home, he realized it was his gallbladder. So fortunately, that didn't turn into a bigger issue. But we were very well cared for by Alex and the group that he contracted with. So thanks for asking me.
Well, thanks, Laura, for that report. And I want to open it up to questions that people have about doing a tour with tourists by Thor.
Yeah, I got a question because I'm about to lead one here in Ireland in a couple weeks. What was the thing that you wish you knew ahead of time as far as the people? We've got, people, ag agents and horse people and a couple of students on ours. But what do you wish you had known that you could have told them ahead of time?
That's a great question. I think that maybe like most tour guides, Alex his recommendations were, he wanted us to have hiking shoes, and some people didn't have hiking shoes, and then they got a little panicky at the last minute, went out and bought hiking shoes because the guide said, oh, you should have hiking shoes. And in fact, farmers are very sturdy people, and they didn't really need to go out and buy hiking shoes. But I guess you just never know. I think pack lighter than maybe most people would. I don't really, he was so good about making sure we knew everything that we needed beforehand. I thought the communication was extremely good. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Other questions
thanks.
for Laura? Well, I have a couple of questions. So how did you arrange this with Alex, and when did you start this compared to when your tour was?
So we started recruiting. He and I worked up the itinerary probably in February, maybe a little bit into March of the year prior. So in 2022, February and March, we were coming up with the itinerary, and he priced it out. And by April or May, we were advertising, and that was good because it allowed people enough time to think about it. He needed reservations by, I think it was early August, but they didn't have to put their that was just a small deposit that the attendees were required at that time to kind of save them up their place. And then I think it was early October when the full amount was required. And that we did have a little bit of last minute shifting around people. We could have probably taken 2 extra people on the bus and still been very comfortable in the bus. But yeah, that was a good kind of easy kind of schedule for us to keep for allowing people enough time to think about it, plan for it, and then come up with the money to secure their spot.
And what was in it for you?
Oh, well, that was the good part. I got my trip paid for. My trip was free. And I was also given, so the cost of the trip was approximately $2,500 for virtually everything except 2 lunches, I think, and your extra, and this will vary, of course, depending upon the country that you go to. Some countries are going to be significantly more expensive, but for Costa Rica, it was about $2,500. That did not include the airfare, and everyone booked their own airfare. They had to get that air reservation done in advance so that Alex could arrange all of the portage to the hotels from the airport. But we were met right out of immigration, and so it was very easy for people who have never traveled internationally before. It was super easy. And then I also got, I was able to bring my husband, and I paid for him, but we got a little bit of a kickback that went to my program. I think it was about $1,000. It was just kind of that was unexpected, to be honest with you. I didn't realize that was coming, and I'm not sure it would come for every tour, but yeah, it was kind of a great little incentive to do it again.
Well, it says in our policy manual that 5% goes back to the local extension program.
There you
So,
go. That
there you
was
go.
probably must have been about what it was. Yeah.
Laura, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So as the trip leader, what did you have to do? Like, what were your responsibilities? And then also you said you started advertising, I forget when you said, but were you specifically trying to get growers from your area, or was it advertised everywhere? Did Tours by Thor do that?
No, I did all the advertising, and I was focusing on my region in Eastern New York, which is a pretty large region. I would say, all but 3 people were from that region. We did get a dairy farmer and his wife that were from the central part of the state. And then I got a berry grower from Connecticut that joined us. But that was about the only folks that were outside of my Eastern New York region. And I sent out the information to all of my connections through the Northeast. I was not, I was focused on my group, but I was certainly willing to take people elsewhere because this is my first time. I had never done it. I wasn't sure how people would respond, but they did respond well in my region. I had some interest from outside of the region, a lot of phone calls and stuff, but for whatever, not that many people outside of the region joined. Most of the folks did not really know each other well. They had heard of each other and seen each other at different meetings and stuff, but they weren't, it wasn't like a whole bunch of people banded together and signed up. So that was nice too. They were able to meet other growers and get to know them better. And I did start advertising in earnest in May.
As a trip leader, like what else
Right.
beyond the advertising would you have to do?
So the other than advertising and filling the tour, that was my responsibility. And I think we needed 20 people to make the tour go, to make it, economically able to work for everyone. As the tour leader, once I got there, I really didn't have to do much. Mostly I answered, a lot of my growers hadn't done any international flying. So there was a little bit of just, assuring them, trying to encourage them to get their passports well in advance, things like that. And then once we were in country, the only thing I really did was buy some Cornell hats to give as thank yous to the hosts of the stops, that was a recommendation by Alex to bring something small, just to provide them as a thank you, and gave a little thank you presentation at every stop. But really that was it. The tour guide did such a fantastic job that there was literally nothing for me to do.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you sharing that. And I hope that others of our members will think about hosting a tour. Betsy will be glad to hear about your trip to Ireland with the horse people. And as others of you have that experience, I just encourage you to share that with others as well, because it can really be a benefit to your program. Educationally, what a tremendous opportunity it was, and then also to provide the networking that goes along with that. All right, thank you very much. JD, I see you've joined us, and we'd like to have you talk to us about what is it you do with new members there in Colorado?
Sure, can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up for good? All right. Well, first of all, I got to apologize. I was rocking and rolling on Mountain Standard Time rather than Eastern Time, and had it wrote down for 1 o'clock and didn't think that meant it started 11 o'clock my time. So I apologize. Real quick, I'll introduce myself. JD Sexton. I'm the 4-H livestock and agriculture specialist for Logan County for Colorado State University. I reside here in the far northeast corner of Colorado. And currently I serve as the vice president for our Colorado County Agents Association. So yeah, Phil had asked our association to maybe talk about our cane tradition that we offer to new members. So I just want to talk about the history of that a little bit. This kind of came around it's kind of blurry, but it kind of came around in the late 40s is when this tradition started. So it's been a really long-standing tradition. And what we do is at our annual banquet every year that we provide in the fall, we do a cane presentation to all of our new members. And I've got my cane here, and it's just a regular wooden cane, okay? And what we do is we present the new members with this blank cane, okay? And we have a nice little ceremony for them and introduce each one of them and what their roles are within Colorado State University Extension, and have them swear a little oath that they will be there to represent CSU and the Colorado County Agents Association to their utmost honor. And then from there on out, the tradition of the cane, first of all, we have you can see that I have the insignia here of these black rings, and what each black ring means is years of service. Okay. So after every year of service, you provide a black ring in this. And then we have different color coatings for different events. So you can see that I have a white ring on my cane here. And that means that I attended a national convention. I attended the convention in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then as we serve as officers, and I don't have mine updated yet, I need to get it updated, but each officer and within our state signifies a different colored ring. So for instance, if you're the treasurer, you would put a red ring, secretary is blue, vice president is silver ring, and then the president of that year would provide a gold ring or a bronze ring around that. Now, as we work on through that, if members serve as on the national board, okay, in terms of being the national director of an association or the vice president, then of course those are the gold and silver, and each one of these rings has to be placed in a certain spot. Now, what's neat about this is you can see that I've been with Colorado State University Extension for 11 years now, so I have 11 rings on this. What's really neat is for some of our retirees, they'll have their rings clear down here to the bottom because they've got, 25, 30, and sometimes we run out of room on canes because some of our folks will serve with our organization for longer than the cane will allow them to mark. But it's really kind of neat for our new members that are starting out and a little intimidated with what extension is and what their role is. And they can really see that some of our older members that have really spent a lot of time in service within the organization. The other thing that we do with the cane is it is required to bring it to our annual banquet there in the fall. And then if we have a state professional improvement conference or any event that the CCAA is doing, it is required to bring your cane. If you do not bring your cane, then we toss a hat around the room and everybody has to pay $5. And what we do with that $5 is we put that into a fund within our association, and it goes into a scholarship towards the members' children. So if there's a member's child that needs some help with some books or some tuition and different things, then we provide some scholarship opportunities with those that forget their cane in their office, or they ran over it out in the field and it's broke now, we got to get a new one and different things. So it's kind of fun for us to be able to bring some funds in to help extension agents' kids. And it's been a really long-standing tradition. And I am actually the cane chairman for our association. And the cane's pretty important to me because my grandfather was with Colorado State University Extension. He was a horticulture agent. And he retired back in 1992, and he just turned 93 years old this February. And his county agent cane still sits over the fireplace in his home. And it's a very, very important piece of his memory of extension. And we can always remember those certain national events that we went to, or the local professional improvement conferences, and then all those memories that we gain of being extension agents. So that was always neat. I always remember playing with grandpa's cane when I was a kid and getting in trouble. Don't break that, don't mess that thing up, that thing is important. So but realistically, in a nutshell, that's kind of our tradition. Like I said, it's been going since the late 40s, and we plan on it going strong. And so, here in a few years, when we host our national convention, if you see a bunch of people running around with canes, it's okay. They're not out to get you. That's required for them to have their cane at that event. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what we've got going there, Phil. So if there's any questions, I'd sure be happy to entertain any of them.
Well, JD, that's even more interesting than I imagined. I had no idea about the carving of the canes and the colors and the events that signified. I just knew that there was canes. I just assumed it was a plain cane.
Yeah, no, it's been a great deal. And, and everybody kind of puts their personal touch. We do have some, the requirements of what we have to do there. But, some guys will engrave them. Some folks will just, get a marker or whatnot. But the ones that are planning on being extension for a long time, get the old Dremel tool out, and there it's a competition of who's got the fanciest canes. So, yeah.
That's great to hear. I think you also do something to help new members get vested in the scholarship fund nationally. Is that correct?
Yeah. So if we also have at our annual banquet, we have an auction, and we're pretty fortunate that we have an extension agent, a longtime extension agent that's a pretty handy auctioneer. So we don't have to pay him very much. But what members do is we bring auction items, and it could vary from, kind of our local areas. If we have a certain farm stand or some type of producer that's raising something in our local communities that we'll bring back, or any type of, maybe if someone went to a special trip, they'll bring something back. And what we do is we have that auction, and if a new member spends $100 at that auction, which goes back into our association, then they can receive scholarships to be paid to help them get to professional improvement conferences, the national conference, and help them get around a little cheaper. So realistically, they make $100 investment, but as we just heard, these trips are not cheap. $2,500 to travel. So the association will help them out in that regard as well. And then it's always a fun evening at the auction. When you know how an auction is. Nope, you're not going to beat me and your fellow agent and different things. So we have a really good time, and we're very well supported in that, and that we get a lot of our administrative folks on campus that will attend that and bring auction items and help as well. And in fact, the big auction item every year is a fishing trip up in the mountains here in Colorado, and that trip will bring quite a bit of money for an agent and whoever they want to bring. And our problem is the administrative folks on campus hardly let us buy that. They always want to get that trip to go fly fishing up in the mountains. So, but yeah, that's also a great opportunity that we do. So,
well, put my bid in for that trip.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll give you a call at the auction. You bet.
All right. Any questions for JD? James Decker has a question about any idea why a cane. So how to get started with a cane? Any idea, JD, on that?
I don't know what the history is. Traditionally in agriculture, it seems like if we look at some of our old time awards at some of like the national livestock shows and judging events, a cane is always given as an award. And I don't know if that was a insignia of the old time livestock folks, livestock managers. And so I don't really know if that's where it came from, but I will tell you, it is getting harder and harder to find canes as our new memberships, because they just don't make them as much. And a funny story with it is I had our local vet store order them here in Sterling, and they got the wrong ones. Well, the company wouldn't take them back, and now the long-standing joke is they can help any of the elderly that might need a cane for a long time, because they've got a bunch there that they can't get sold. So yeah, it's just been kind of that way. I wish I had the answer for that. I probably need to do a little more digging and find out who the person was that says let's do the cane. So
thanks, JD. Appreciate you sharing that. And I think that states are unique, but states can also adopt great ideas from other states. And so if you don't have a terrific traditions, maybe there's one that you want to adopt. Well, thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So now we're going to turn to Donna Hoffman, and Donna's going to talk about launching the Leadership Academy for NACAA. Donna?
Phil, I think we're having a little trouble getting her on Zoom. Can we skip to Maria? I'm working with her on trying to get her on.
Sure. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right, Maria. Maria is a national winner was it APLU, the American
National Extension Diversity Award, USDA, NIFA.
Yeah. And so it was about her work with reaching out to Latin communities in Pennsylvania and maybe beyond So I asked her to talk about what it is that they do to reach Latin communities and how is it they're doing that. So Maria, go ahead and talk to us about that.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Phil, for inviting me today to speak. I'm Maria Gorgo. I'm a horticulture extension educator with Penn State Extension. I'm also an affiliate faculty instructor with the plant pathology and environmental microbiology department in Penn State. In addition to my regular duties as a commercial horticulture agent, I also work with Penn State, other Penn State programs and departments to develop programming for diverse audiences and clients. I'm one of the 3 leadership team members of the Latinx Agriculture Network, and I am also an NACAA DEI advisory group member. First, I want to tell you, a little bit about the community, the Latino community in the United States. It's a community that is very diverse, spans all races, Caucasians, Asians, Blacks, Native Americans. It's a melting pot, really. It's like the general population, a melting pot. Some people are born in the US, they're US citizens, others are born in other areas of the world. I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm a US citizen now too, but I was born in Buenos Aires. Some are English speakers, some are bilingual, some are only speak Spanish, especially people that emigrated to the United States later in life. Sometimes it's more difficult for them to learn the language. They can be of various ages, and there are many different levels of education. So it's a very, very diverse community. Talking a little about the demographic statistics, the Latino community in the United States, according to the 2020 national census, is the largest minority in the country, representing 18.5% of the total population. That is about 62.5 million individuals. And between 2010 and 2020, the Latino population grew about 23%, and that accounts for 51% of the nation's population growth. In the meantime, the non-Hispanic population grew 4.3%. The projection is that by the year 2050, 1 of every 3 people living in the United States is going to be of Hispanic origin. In Pennsylvania, as of 2022, the entire population is close to 13 million people, and the Latinos represent 8.4%. In Pennsylvania, the Hispanic or Latino population grew 45.8%, while the population that was not Hispanic or Latino origin declined 0.2% since 2010. According to the US 2020 national census, we rank number 13 in population in the country. And here you can see the 2022 corridor. This is the southeast part of Pennsylvania. Is the portion of the state where you see the largest Latino population. Some cities like Allentown, Lancaster, Reading, and Lebanon have a majority of Latino student population. For example, Reading has more than 80% of students in the school district that are Latinos. Same as with Allentown and Lancaster, they have more than 60%. So this table is a comparison of occupation of Hispanics versus non-Hispanics, and you can see about 2% of the total population works in agriculture, and out of that, 75% are Latinos. And depending on the industry, I would say between 75 to 90% of the workforce is Latinos. I work a lot with the mushroom industry, and in the mushroom industry, 90 to 95% of the workforce is Latino. And same with the tree fruit growers. Now we have first or second generation Latinos that are part of the workforce, and many of them have moved into management positions. But Latinos are not only farm workers, they're also farm owners. According to the 2019 report of the 2017 U.S. Department of Agriculture Ag Census, the number of Latinx principal agricultural operators in the country now stands at 112,451. And this is about a 24% increase from the previous census in 2012. And we're looking forward to see what the result is in the last year's census. Now, the 2017 Ag Census reports that the average age of farmers in the U.S. has increased to 57.5 years old. I think it's 58.5 years old now. And the number of new and beginning farmers has not been keeping up with the number of those who are retiring in the U.S. Latino farm workers are already skilled and they are becoming farm owners, but they face a great variety of challenges when they're trying to start their own farms, including language barriers, lack of knowledge about the market, and many times the lack of knowledge about government resources, such as subsidies and grants from USDA agencies. So what is Penn State Extension doing to adapt to these new trends? We are increasing Spanish programming, educational materials and trainings. We're providing professional development in cultural competency for extension educators. We're hiring more bilingual extension educators. We're assisting and supporting new minority farmers. We're improving diversity within the college and recruiting minority students that, and this is, like a spinning wheel, they will later work for the government agencies and other educational institutions as well. So really the effort started back in 2010. A group of us, extension educators and some faculty and administrators got together, and we kind of shared what we were doing, and we realized that in order to support the Latino community, we couldn't just rely on just ad hoc efforts. Pretty much that what was happening the first years, they were ad hoc efforts, getting grant and providing these educational resources and programming in Spanish, but we didn't have support. We didn't have administrative support. We didn't have people answering the phone. So we pretty much had to do everything from registrations to calling to marketing, everything you can possibly imagine. So it was this is not the way to reach out our audiences if we want to make sure that we provide the whole span of Penn State portfolio. So we got together in September 2019, and we started what we call the Latinx Agriculture Network. There was a planning meeting. We invited stakeholders. We did needs assessments with these stakeholders from across the state. This group was a group of 9 people, and today we are a group of extension educators, administrators, faculty, students, and supporting staff. And we form what we call the first community of practice in Penn State Extension. And our goal is to implement avenues of access and support and promote active participation and inclusion for the Latinx community in extension programming, research, and teaching activities. So pretty much we try to provide all the resources or all our knowledge and share our experiences in order to meet the needs of the Latino community in Pennsylvania, not just in agriculture, but in general. It could be nutrition, it could be, any type of extension activity that we do. In order to do this, we meet bi-monthly. We have general meetings. Now we grew from a group of 9 people to 117. We meet every other month, and we provide professional development opportunities. We share, it's a network, you know, like we work together to help each other, and we provide information and resources. We have some, Dr. Brent Hales, our extension director, gave us a budget as well. So we just don't rely on grant funding to make this grow. And so we have bi-monthly general meetings, and then we have monthly executive committee meetings, and then we have bi-weekly meetings with the leadership team. So we based all this, when we started preparing for this, we have different research studies. And in this case, we did the demographic, we assessed the demographic of farm workers who attended Penn State Extension bilingual trainings. And we realized that over 60% of them have family farms in their native countries. Less than 3% are actually growing vegetables and fruit as part-time here in the US, but more than 65% of them would like to be growers or specialized managers. They already know how to do it. They don't know how to get there. But the funny thing is, through the years, we are coming across people that don't realize that they're actually beginner farmers. One time, this person in Reading called me, and she said that she needed some help. And it turns out that she had about 30 acres, 100 chickens, and she was doing a lot more things. She was a beginner farmer, she didn't know, and she didn't know about extension. Because as many of you know, extension, the land-grant university system, is a US system. I believe there's only one more country that does the same thing, but otherwise in other countries, there's no extension. It's some countries like Argentina, that's where I'm from, we do have support for the farmers, but it's done through the government. And in my opinion, this is the best way to do it. You know, the land-grant university system is the best way to do it. We also assess the way that they like to learn, that adults like to learn based on their experiences and their preferences. And their top choices were on-farm demonstrations, study circle networks, tours for their growers' farms, self-paced interactive online courses and videos, and also interactive workshops. And that's what we did. Then we started planning all these activities for them. And in addition, we during the pandemic, we started a heavier presence on social media. So we created a Facebook page called Penn State Extension Agricultura en Español. We have over 60,000 people following us, not only in the US, but in Latin America in general. And then we have a website, the Latinx Agriculture Network, where we put some information. All these efforts are in addition to our regular duties as an extension agent or faculty or administrator. So we are trying to do the best we can, and we have accomplished a lot. And in the past years, with Dr. Brent Hales, we had a lot of support, because now we have customer representatives, that answer the telephones in Spanish, and the registration is through the website for our trainings are done in Spanish. So we're making sure that everything that we have is also available in Spanish for the Pennsylvania community, every resident in Pennsylvania. So these are some examples. I'm just going to show you pictures. And for example, with the dairy team, these are hands-on workshops. They have done between 30 and 50 in-person workshops per year. They have trained 300 and 500 farm personnel per year. And this is Dr. Adrian Barragan. He's also one of the 3 members of the leadership team of LAN. And he's also from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Or from Argentina, I don't think he's from Buenos Aires. Then this is other Spanish hands-on workshops with the horticulture team. We do pesticide applicator license study courses in Spanish. In Pennsylvania, you cannot take the exam to get the license in Spanish, only in English. But what we do is this course to help them understand the content of the manual, the core manual, and the conversation and all the teaching is in Spanish, but we also introduce them to the terms in English. People that participate in this have to be bilingual enough to be able to take a multiple choice test. We also help him with testing skills. In some countries, multiple choice tests are not a common thing like here. So we have to help them, with soft skills as well, how to take a test. We do hands-on, his pruning apple trees, and we also do pesticide meetings in Spanish as well for several industries, like the mushroom industry, tree fruit industry, and vegetable growers, and the green industry. We conduct, we have several Spanish webinars that then we convert into online courses. This kind of exploded with the pandemic, right? And now we're providing this information in Spanish as well, as many as we can. We do bilingual farm safety trainings as well for the mushroom industry, apple industry, poultry industry, and dairy industry. We do bilingual farm food safety trainings for our FISMA produce safety rule, again, for the mushroom, vegetable, and fruit growers. We also provide leadership trainings in Spanish for farm supervisors. Something that we heard a lot from the growers is that, and this is for everybody, not just Spanish speakers, for English speakers too, when in agriculture, when you choose somebody, you ask somebody to be a supervisor, you invite them because you consider that they know a lot about production, but we know that people not necessarily know how to be leaders, right? They don't know how to supervise. They don't know how to manage stress or any different problems that might arise when you are a leader. So this is a course that was requested first by the tree fruit industry, and now it's very popular among the growers too. And we're doing it in English and Spanish. Since 2010, we have conducted Spanish. This is virtual because it was in 2021, but it's always in person. We're doing it at the Mid-Atlantic Fruit and Vegetable Convention. This is in Hershey. So this is a 3-4 day convention that attracts 2,000 people a year. But we do, since 2010, we started a Spanish session, and it's growing exponentially. Last year, well, this year, we actually requested a bigger room because last year we were, the room was packed with attendance, and we had 85 people attending the session, all conducted in Spanish from 9 a.m. until 4:30 in the afternoon, different sessions. And we bring the speakers from different states, and from Pennsylvania, yes, too. So then in the pandemic, we also made sure that when people were trying to access information, they had information in Spanish as well. So you could see, people were able to click. I think they can still do it. I have not checked, but to click in each of these boxes, and they will get more information. Same with the Spanish in Spanish language. We translated several educational resources, not only about COVID, but also about, every single unit in extension, agronomy, dairy, poultry, beef cattle, everything you can possibly imagine, horticulture, of course. How do we do this? Because there are not that many bilingual extension educators in Penn State, though we are trying to hire more, and it's not an easy thing. It's not easy to find, that many bilingual extension educators, but it can be done. So we collaborated with each other. The horticulture team collaborates with the food safety team. The community vitality team collaborates with the horticulture team. And we provide different different educational opportunities like risk management of FISMA certification. The pesticide application course that I was talking about before is a collaboration between the pesticide education program, the agronomy team, and the horticulture team. I would not be able to do it by myself. There's so many, modules that you have to teach. And same thing with FISMA, right? And then we collaborate between the sociology department and the horticulture team and the community vitality team to provide that supervisor training and so on with all the other things. We help each other. And as you mentioned, Phil, before last year, all our efforts paid off big time because we won the National Extension Diversity Award. And then that was in October of 2022 in Denver, Colorado. Okay, so that was my presentation, and now I will open it for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Maria. And again, congratulations on that award. Any questions for Maria?
I see something in the chat. Do you have a link to send me so other members could view this program? Maybe the Facebook link too. Yes. Phil, is it possible that I send all this information to you and you forward it to them? I would be happy to share you all the information, and the Facebook page is fantastic, and we really reach out a lot of people. And like I said, it's being followed by half of our followers are from Latin America.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Michael asked, where do you see things going in the next 5 years?
Well, I think we are seeing it not right now. Now extension is in the extension now has improved a lot in Pennsylvania extension in how we reach out to diverse communities. In Pennsylvania, we have a large plains community as well. So we implemented routes and different sources of how we can do this. And for the Latino communities, and in particular, is by helping land. We have a little budget, but we provide mini grants. Now extension is gonna also translate a lot of educational materials that we have. It's gonna be, we're not gonna just rely on that, but we also have to request grants to do this, but we'll continue to do this. But the leadership is supporting us, and pretty much, I think, if you think about it, it's a no-brainer. 1 of every 3 people in the United States by 2050 is gonna be Latino. If we don't bring this population, historically, they're not very involved in science, right? So if we don't bring this population up to par with the rest of the communities, we would be in trouble. So this is just not something that is important for us. For extension, it's important for the country and for food security, truly.
Thank you very much, Maria. I appreciate you sharing that.
And the other thing I want to share is Penn State last year, we went through a civil rights audit by USDA. And USDA, if any of your states are going to go through USDA civil rights audit, it's very, even doing all this stuff, that we had a lot of things that to fix, and language access is one of the big things that they requested in Penn State to make sure that we provide. So it's a no-brainer in that sense either.
All right, thanks for that. All right, Donna Hoffman. Donna Hoffman wants to tell us about the new NACA Leadership Academy. Donna? Thank you for joining us. You're on mute. Donna, you're muted.
On there, I'm still unmuted. There we go. Sorry about the details. So our committee chairperson actually was able to join us. So if Amanda wants to give the presentation instead of me, I'm happy to have her join in or jump on vocally, and we can do it together or whatever. But the leadership and administrative skills team has been working a couple of years on some diversity and inclusion. And I just joined the team last year at the MPIC, and I'm looking forward to the progress that we've made on things this year towards the Leadership Academy that will be instigated at the MPIC. So our team has worked together, the four of us, to put together an agenda for the new program. We're hoping to develop new leaders, bless you, Phil, to help develop our candidates for NACA on our board, as well as developing some well-rounded and compassionate leaders to help at our statewide level of our organization. And so we have a schedule set up where the program will start at the MPIC, and we'll do a welcome and kind of an overview of the program. We hear from some of the current and past NACA leaders and do introductions from the participants for the program. We're hoping for a class of about 20 in this program. We'll start out with a program that's 2 sessions that are 4 hours long, and all of the sessions are planned for about 4 hours long. In September and October, we're going to do strength finders. So kind of developing some of your own personality and recognition of your individual strengths, and then recognition of how important it is to know other people's strengths on your team, so that you can develop a team that has well-rounded skills with variety of strengths. And then we're gonna in November look at the NACA structure and opportunities, and we will hear from past President Cynthia, past President Bill Burdine, current Extension Development Council, David Marison, and then Melody Rose, our director from the Southern region. And then December, we won't have a program class session, then pick up in January and carry on each month through the next MPIC. In January, we're gonna do some compassion and empathy training. And then February, some work-life organization, schedule management, work-life balance type stuff. In March, we'll do trust and diversity, equity, inclusion subjects. And then April, leading change, leading culture in hybrid environment and succession planning. And I think one of the things that all of our organizations would benefit from is a little more on the succession planning and looking for development of new leaders as some of our leaders leave our ranks. And then May 19th, we're going to do communication and conflict resolution. And then June, we'll do project presentation, practice, and feedback. And then at the AMPIC, each of the participants in a small group will be doing some presentations on subject matter that was not included in the academy through the years. So each group, each small group will have an opportunity .
It appears we have frozen Donna.
Topics that haven't been included in the April 15th, and
Amanda, you want to pick up?
And we're hoping to have applicants by May 5th. So anyway, we have the application out. We are asking for a supervisor's letter of support with the application process. And then we are giving priority to NACA members and those that attend the AMPICs in 2023 and in 2024, but are open to the idea of other extension professionals, maybe from other associations, joining in if we don't fill a class with NACA participants. And Amanda can answer questions if I can't answer them, Phil. So I'd be happy to answer questions from you or from any of the other attendees.
Questions? This is a brand new thing. We're excited about it. And that will be on Tuesday, 3:30 to 5 o'clock is Leadership Academy. I see in the program is the kickoff time. And then the monthly programs as Donna described them. Amanda, what would you like to add?
I see we had a question on from Ashley on what's preferred in the supervisor letter. And that's really just this, I support this person participating in this program since it is a commitment outside of your normal work area. So it doesn't have to be like a letter of recommendation or anything like that, just that your supervisor's aware that you're applying for this and is supportive of you participating in it. So the deadline is May 15th. And as Donna said, we do want that letter of support included in there. So don't wait until the last minute if you're thinking you'll apply on May 15th and then forget that you need that letter. Because you will need to attach it in the application process. But thanks, Donna, for filling everyone in. And I put the link in the chat box to the details, which then has a link to the application.
So we would encourage you to share that out in your states or your regions to members so that we can have a wonderful pool of applicants to select from for that first class of the new Leadership Academy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that same thing,
And
Donna. Please
and
share.
I would say I just checked and we don't have any applicants yet. We're still, 13 days away. So I certainly understand that, but really encourage you guys to share wherever you can.
This really is professional development, and it's professional development in one of the most critical areas that we have, and that is in leadership. And so I really want to encourage people to participate in this and to that, I'd like to see a full class to start this year off, because what a great opportunity it is. Any other
Thanks for letting
questions
us share.
for Amanda or Donna? Well, we appreciate you being on to share that. Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
The link is on there. It is goosu.edu/NACA leadership details. go.osu.edu/NACAA leadership details. So it's right there, and Amanda's put it in again. All right, thanks. So another form of professional development that is important for our members a lot of times in promotion is that of publishing. And there are two journals that are extension journals that really offer a great opportunity to our members to publish in. One is the Journal of NACA and the other is the Journal of Extension. And I'll ask Melody to talk about the Journal of NACAA.
Actually, Phil, I'm Journal of Extension.
But
Linda can go ahead, or I can go ahead, whichever.
No, I want Linda first.
Okay, yeah, because she's
Linda. I'm sorry.
That's okay, not a problem. Let me pull it up here. I don't know why my picture is not there. It says my virtual background is still loading. Well, we'll see. I think I'll just take away the virtual background. You'll get to see my dining room.
We can see your picture, or we could see.
Really? Okay. Well, I don't see it. So that's
now we see chroma cam.
Okay.
There you are.
There we go. Okay, so let me get this shared. And I just have a few slides to show you. Hopefully it's going to behave itself. It seems to be running really slow right now. All right. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm the relatively new editor for the Journal of NACA, and just finishing up the June issue right now. And I have to put a shout out to all the wonderful colleagues who've volunteered to be reviewers for this. I think I have a stable of about 150 people now, so it's been really nice. I haven't had too much trouble getting disciplinary experts for every single paper that's come through. Anyway, what I want to do is just kind of give you my quick pitch for why you should publish in our journal. It is our official journal. It was established just 15 years ago, so it's a relatively young little teenager, but coming right along. It is peer-reviewed. It's double-blinded. So, we're doing things just like the research journals do in terms of making sure things are as objective and open as possible. There's no publication charge associated with it, as you probably know. It's completely online. There's not a paper copy. It is open access, and I routinely link up to things that are on in the Journal of NACA online to various clients and other extension people to just show them what's there and available. And it gets published twice a year. As I said, I'm just now working on the June issue and getting that all finished up after reviews. And then there's a December issue as well. So why should you publish here? Well, you're going to get a national audience with your research and outreach activities. We all have our county and our state audiences, and we can have a national audience when we go to AMPIC. But this is a way to reach that audience without depending on the once a year annual meeting. So that's one big benefit. And actually, you're reaching an international audience. There are people from all over the world that can access this just because it is open access. And I routinely point people, even in other countries, towards the work that we do. Obviously, it always also is going to broaden your capacity as an extension professional. And as I'm going to point out in just a minute, specifically, you can be in the position of really helping your colleagues who are not experts in your discipline. So one of the things I've really found useful with our state association, and we just got back from our annual field trip last week, is a chance to be around my colleagues and hear their expertise as we're looking at dairy cattle, or we're looking at fisheries, or whatever it is we're looking at that I'm not an expert in. And this is something that we can also do through our Journal of NACA. What we could publish there is very similar to what you're going to find in other journals, with a few exceptions. Obviously, we have lots of original research that comes in. This is a great opportunity, especially for young researchers, to get their work out there and into immediate use. And so this could be applied sciences. It could be survey results. And it can also be negative results. Now, this is one of the things that other journals are starting to do slowly, but it's been a real problem with many of the research journals that if you run your research and you don't find an effect from a particular product or practice, a lot of places wouldn't publish that. And it's just as important as the positive results. It's important to point out what doesn't work. And this has been especially important in my particular area of work, which is with home gardeners, master gardeners, and landscape professionals. Is there's a lot of stuff out there that's being marketed as something that's a wonderful practice or product, but actually doesn't work at all. So having those negative results are really important to all of us. And the fact that we will publish those is not a mainstream practice. The other thing I encourage people to think about is doing scholarly literature reviews. And a lot of journals won't do that either. Why, I'm not really quite sure, but they're focusing mostly on primary research as opposed to scholarly research. And I've done a lot of these types of literature reviews over the decades, and so I think that they're really important, kind of for the same reason that I just mentioned about going on the WISA trip, of finding out more from my colleagues who are experts. Those of you that happen to be in a county office or even in a state office, if you don't have, you're not going to have expertise in everything that extension does. But being able to have access to reviews from disciplinary experts in other fields is really helpful, especially when you're trying to work with a clientele group that maybe you're not quite comfortable with the material. And then, of course, we can have case studies and demonstrations. So those are the types of things that do get submitted, and are published and are readily eaten up by our colleagues and by clientele. So what I'd suggest, if you're even thinking about this, I mean, all of us have to write literature reviews, even short ones, for our research articles. And that's kind of what got me started on this in the first place, was having to write a fairly extensive review for a fairly extensive paper. And really the review could stand on its own as a publication. So I started doing more of this, and I found it a really nice way to help support, as I said, my extension colleagues who aren't experts in my area of woody plant physiology, arboriculture, and urban horticulture. So just keep that in mind, that not everybody is as smart as you in your particular area. All it is really, it costs virtually nothing except time, is to review the literature in your discipline and the current state of knowledge. So that's the value. Even if someone's done a review in the last 15, 20 years, it's dated. It's dated the day after it comes out. So reviewing the literature is always a good idea to help people keep current. The one thing I do caution people about is taking the book report approach, which is just kind of a laundry list of who's done what, and it doesn't really incorporate anything new. It's just kind of a whole bunch of abstracts thrown together, and that's not particularly useful. What is useful is looking at the articles in whole and kind of knitting them together to make a critical assessment, again, of the current state of knowledge. So you're bringing something new, you're bringing your brain and your knowledge to tie all this stuff together, to explain the current state of knowledge, to make recommendations for further research or recommendations for practice. That really depends on the topic. And that's the bottom line. You're synthesizing something new. It's a new understanding of the topic, something hasn't been done before. It's completely legitimate in terms of scholarly research. And sometimes, especially with programs that don't have a lot of money, being able to spend just some time and brain cells on doing something like this, as I said, costs virtually nothing. So with that really brief overview, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Linda. Are there any questions for Linda on the Journal of NACAA? Well, there's a question by Michael in the chat. Has journal received ISBN or something similar status? This was being investigated several years ago, but I've not heard results.
That's a really good question, and I don't know, but I will ask Scott, because Scott he's got to have his fingers on the computer 24/7. So I will ask him what's happened with that and see if I can get an answer for you.
Thanks, Michael, for the question. Other questions? Well, now I'll turn it over to Melody to talk about the Journal of Extension. Joe.
Okay, so I will share the link with Journal here in just a few minutes. Very much like what Linda just shared with y'all, the Journal of Extension is going to be very similar. Just a few highlights to kind of get you to where we've been. I know maybe some of you that have been with Extension a little bit longer know we were kind of in flux, and I always like to preface the conversation by saying that, we are just recently coming out of a transition. As you can see there, January 1st, 2021, we moved to the Clemson University Press. That was pretty much because we were operating in the red. We were really far behind in getting articles out. The backlog was pretty significant. I'm happy to report now that we have moved through that backlog. We have an excellent editor, Drew Griffin, who is housed at Clemson. We also just recently hired a senior editor, Jenna Andig from Texas. We also just incorporated 8 associate editors as well as 2 senior editors. One of those, Steve Brown from Alaska, who does the Tools of the Trade, is one of those editors. And many of our other colleagues across the U.S. are those associate editors. So all of those folks are now in place. It has really streamlined the process for getting you published. One of the things I really like about the transition to Clemson, and I know I'm doing more of a formality here than talking about how necessary necessarily to publish, but I'm sharing this website with y'all just to make sure that you're aware of this, and that once you start the submission process, which you'll see right here, submission guidelines, Drew and those editors are writing multiple author tools that are being pushed out via the Facebook page. I will share that link with y'all as well. This is really going to kind of get into the dirt, get into the details about some of those specific submission guidelines. But once you click on this, it'll actually pop up where you log into that. So the cool feature about this new Journal of Extension that we've moved to Clemson is that you can follow your submission throughout the entire process. Whereas before, when I first came to the journal, there was no way, you know, as an author, even me myself, when you submit it, it's like, okay, where did it go? And that's nothing negative toward any of those, to any of the, you know, structure we had in place before. It was just there was no way to follow it. Now you can follow that all the way through. You can see when it actually hits the peer review. Again, very similar process to what Linda just described with the Journal of NACAA. Like I said, we moved through that backlog. We just celebrated our 60th year. That was huge. We had a great year last year. Doing that, we pushed out a lot of social media posts and facts, a lot of different articles. A lot of those, of course, focused on COVID, some of the things that had gone on throughout that process. But as far as looking at some of the, well, let's see, where is that? Let me go back here. Maybe that was right here. Yeah, some of the things that we did change once we moved to Clemson, and this just went into effect last year, so it was about a year later. These are some of the areas for which you can publish: the feature article, research and brief, ideas at work, tools of the trade, and then the commentary. And I won't go into detail about all of these because in essence of time, but I would really, again, encourage you to go to this website and kind of review this at your leisure, because we actually increased the word here, the submission guidelines. Things were getting a little precarious with that. So this has made it a lot easier as an author. And again, I'm not going to click on this. As far as the style guide, that is APA, that's pretty standard. And the guidelines is going to take you through what each one of these requires in greater detail. One thing that we're always looking for are peer reviewers. There is a link under here for reviewers that you can also look at. This is great if you're trying to build your portfolio for tenure or promotion. That's really going to help with that as well. So I will share the link to Joe, also the Facebook link. I would really encourage you to get involved. In essence of time, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, but I want you to know that we're here if you have any questions. We're really fortunate to have the editor in place, the associate editor we have in place now. It has really made the process much more seamless. So if you were one of those authors before and you got discouraged and frustrated, I myself was one, but I was one of the first, I guess, to submit an article right after we transitioned to Clemson, and it was pretty profound. The ease of that going through the process. I was able to follow that every step of the way. So we encourage you again to publish because again, much like Linda said, we're just making recommendations for future research and perpetuating our, you know, what we do every day for the future. So, and that's what it's all about. So thank you very much. That's it, Phil. You're muted.
Thank you, Melody, and thank you, Linda, for sharing about the journals. I really think that this is an important venue for our members to be able to publish their work. I know that as I look back, I should have published things that I didn't. And because of that, they got limited. They were limited in just what I did and who knew about it. This is a way to get the information out to our colleagues who can take advantage of that information. And frankly, that's really important to do. So for both Linda on behalf of Journal of NACA and for Melody on behalf of Journal of Extension, thank you very much for that. We have come to the end of our time. I apologize. I was hoping for some extra time for questions, but I want to thank you for your role in leadership in your state. You know, one of the things that I think NACA needs to do is to strengthen state associations, to help you and strengthen your state association, because frankly, we're only as strong as our state associations. We need you, and hopefully we are a valuable asset to you. So as the president of NAC, I just want to say thank you for the work that you do day in, day out. And I hope that I'll be able to see you in Des Moines or in the future. Look forward to that time together. And of course, communication lines are always open with me. Feel free to email me or to call me on my cell phone. Be glad to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all those who had a part in presenting today. Have a great day and hope to see you in Des Moines. Bye now.